Hello, I'm Joan Justice with HealthWorks Collective, and I'm here today with Dr. Seth Feuerstein, founder and CEO of Cobalt Therapeutics. Dr. Feuerstein has a background in forensic psychiatry, technology, and law, and he teaches at the medical school in the Department of Psychiatry and is the faculty advisor for innovation in healthcare at the Yale School of Medicine. Dr. Feuerstein is part of the team at Cobalt Therapeutics, a company that develops online software solutions delivering interactive cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, for such conditions as insomnia, depression, anxiety, and addiction. These programs have been both evaluated in controlled trials and published in peer-reviewed journals. They've also been written up in the New York Times and in Time magazine. The programs at Cobalt have been designed to help patients better manage their own conditions and improve their quality of life. Dr. Feuerstein, tell us a little bit about how you got started and how CBT works.
Sure. Thanks, Joan.
Mm-hmm.
So we got started with this about 5 years ago, really because of a huge clinical problem for both clinicians and for their patients. It's very well known that there's a huge gap when it comes to patients complaining in primary care about problems such as depression and insomnia and anxiety and addiction, and the ability of those primary care clinicians to provide what treatment guidelines and data say they should get. For disorders like obsessive-compulsive disorder, like depression and insomnia, it's very well established that cognitive behavioral therapy, a kind of talk therapy, is really what patients should get as a first-line option in most cases, in mild to moderate disease. So there's this huge problem. We know of something that works, and yet people didn't have access to it. So I met with Steve Bunny, who was my chairman when I was a resident in psychiatry at Yale, and talked about the problem. And we actually went around the world. It turned out the problem was well known. It turned out other experts in each of these disease areas was looking at how to use technology to try to solve the problem. And let me explain a little bit about why cognitive behavioral therapy lent itself to that. CBT is highly manualized as a type of talk therapy. Unlike some types which are exploratory, CBT is manualized. It's time limited, so usually patients wouldn't go for more than a couple of months or a few months.
And what does manualized mean?
So manualized means that there's a schedule. It's highly problem focused,
Okay.
and there's a schedule, and different activities are learned each week and practiced each week between sessions. Okay. And that has a powerful effect in terms of allowing the patient and the clinician to focus on the problem. At the same time, it's highly repetitive from patient to patient, and so experts, particularly in places like England, Canada, and Australia, where they have well-funded national health systems, were looking at this problem and realized you can use technology. So Steve and I traveled around the world. We went to these different experts and looked at their programs, and it occurred to us that, by the way, these programs have been well studied in trials, evaluated, and used now for years and thousands of patients. We could take all of these programs, put them together into an exclusive package that would be useful and successful for lots of patients for more than 80% of what they complain about from a behavioral perspective. And so that's what we did. We founded Cobalt. We exclusively put this package together, and now those programs, I'm happy to say, are available throughout the U.S. as well as other continents and in other languages.
Yeah, I know. It sounds great. And I looked at your website and took a sample program, and it was really interesting. What's the proof of effectiveness? Again, you say that it's been written up in peer-reviewed journals, and it's been used for years in the UK. And what would you say is the proof of effectiveness here in the U.S.?
So our various programs have been studied in many randomized controlled trials, published in some of the top journals, been proven to be as effective as face-to-face cognitive behavioral therapy when people can even get it, which usually they can't. They've actually been studied from an economic perspective, so in some cases they've been evaluated systemically to look at how much they save, and the savings are significant. After that, they've now been used clinically for years, and we know that clinically the outcomes are actually like they were in those clinical trials. And in addition to working well, they actually save the clinicians lots of time, so they incredibly expand access. For instance, insomnia is one of the most, it's the most common behavioral complaint and one of the most common complaints in primary care. We have clinics that use our Restore Insomnia program where they're able to handle sometimes 5 times as many insomnia patients with the same outcome without any additional cost.
Sure.
It's pretty remarkable.
So it definitely reduces costs and raises the quality of care. And you say that you also have a program for depression. Now, what are the benefits, say, of using your program over taking Prozac or Paxil or Zoloft?
Well, so most people who are treated today for depression, papers have recently come out that provide additional evidence of this. Most patients that are treated have mild to moderate depression, for which studies are really being questioned as to whether the medications are even effective for those groups. And our programs have been proven to be as effective. And so it's a nice alternative. I mean, unlike medications which can have side effects, if this can work for a patient, it's a great option. You should know within a few weeks if it's helpful. And if it's not and you'd like to use a medication, that makes lots of sense too. But patients, if they knew there was an option that didn't have side effects, most of them will try it.
Sure. Agreed.
So that's a rewarding thing to be able to offer that to them.
Agreed. And just this is not a consumer product, right? You're selling to physicians and to providers and to insurance companies.
That's right. We view what we do as a tool in a larger system. So there's a very large problem, and we provide a piece of the solution. So the solution is making sure that people know that this is an option, providing it to them, and for those where it will be helpful, it's useful. We find that in a primary care setting, for instance, or a specialty setting like a pulmonologist, for instance, if they have access to this, 4 out of 5 to 80% to 90% of patients say, sure, I'll try it. And of those, more than half to 80% will never need anything else. That's great for the clinician because in a world where we've got a larger percentage of the population who's getting older on multiple medications, they become complicated to manage. The more medications you add, the harder it is to manage those patients, and the more likely it is they're going to have complicated side effects as a result. Polypharmacy is one of the greatest drivers of ER visits after patients are discharged from the hospital or in general as they get older.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Feuerstein. I think this is a great idea. I would certainly try it if I needed it. More and more patients are going to be managing their own health, and this is a great step forward in that direction. So thank you so much.
Thank you.